In 2025, I graded over 150 cards through Tag, CGC, and PSA, both directly and via Gamestop. I learned about a lot of different timelines, costs, and benefits for each option. Along the way, I experimented with resubmitting and even selling directly through PSA on eBay. Let's dive in. Here's what we'll cover: timelines, costs, communication, and my recommendations for 2026. Chapters are in the description if you want to skip around. Starting with CGC, I sent one card on economy, 20-day service. $40 total. It was delivered there on April 1st and was back in my hands by April 19th. They nailed the timeline. Downsides, no grade reasoning. And honestly, I'm not a fan of the slab design. I'll only use CGC for miscuts, like this one.
Counts in there though, not manufacturing. Not bad, not bad. Yeah, again, I know the turnaround and stuff is very...
You may be wondering why I only graded one card with CGC. It does go a bit beyond my dislike of the labels and the slabs. The highest grade you can get with a CGC slab is a pristine 10. This is much more difficult to get than a PSA 10, which is PSA's highest possible grade, and the value can be much more than a PSA 10, but often the difference isn't nearly as much in value as it is in difficulty to get. Regular CGC 10s are usually much less valuable than a PSA 10 and are much more likely to get that grade than a pristine. To illustrate this, let's look at 10 of my most valuable PSA 10 cards from the last year and how much different the value would be. If I had graded these cards through CGC instead and gotten a pristine score on each, which is incredibly unlikely, the value of the cards would have increased by over $2,400. However, almost $2,000 of that would have been only with two cards, the Zekrom BWR and the Flareon VMAX promo. Conversely, if all the cards had graded as a regular CGC 10, I would have lost almost $2,800 in value, and this difference was relatively consistent across all of the cards. Thus, unless I was certain I would get a pristine 10, there's absolutely no reason to do CGC over PSA. Tag was a roller coaster. The first order was 10 cards, regular 10-day speeds, but it took them 2 months to get back to me. The communication was terrible. They had one press release in that time. Later express orders, they all met the timelines. And remember that PSA slab that I cracked? So I could just buy a Tag Gem Mint 10 and replace my sad little Tag 9, right? But the last time one sold on eBay, the price difference was like over $300. So I guess I'm cracking my first slab. Terrifying. One wrong move with the screwdriver and it's game over. Okay, it's out. I think I didn't destroy it? Maybe? No time to panic. We're sending this off to Tag. And because patience is not my strong suit and Tag bolt turnaround is currently months, we're going walkthrough. Small problem though. Even if we get the grade we want, the slab won't match the rest perfectly because it'll have the 1,000-point grade too. This comes with walkthrough grading. Also, slight chance that it comes back in a pristine 10, and then it'll stand out in a very different way. The last pristine 10 sold for over $1,000. The last pristine 10 with a 1,000-point grade scale, which was a 992 out of 1,000, currently the highest, sold for over $3,000.
Oh my god!
So here's something that really separates these grading companies: an explanation for the grades your card receives. Tag gives you a full breakdown: corners, edges, centering, surface, with heat maps and scores. It's like a report card for your card. PSA only gives you notes, and that's only if you pay for their Express, Super Express, or Premium tiers. That's $149 per card at least. CGC, they used to offer subgrades, but now, no reasoning at all, just the number on the slabs. So if you're the type of person who wants to know why your card got a 9 instead of a 10, you should definitely go with Tag. PSA will tell you if you pay up, and CGC is going to remain silent on the topic. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the Tag grading report, where they lay out the exact reasons for why your card got a lower score, such as this card, which has a print line on the back of the card. The print line is really only obvious with their surface defect scan, but it is definitely there. The report also gives you up-close looks at the corners of the cards and lets you know if they're cut correctly or have damage on the front or back. You also get to look at all the edges, and it lets you know if there's any fray or edge surface wear on the back and front. This grading report was from the card I cracked out of the PSA 9 slab, and it got a pristine 10 from Tag with a score of 993, which was the highest score at the time. But since then it's dropped to the second highest score, tied with 2 others. Speaking of which, Tag not only gives you a population report, but also allows you to compare against other graded cards if you paid for the service level that gives you the 1,000-point grading scale. For high value cards, PSA Direct is worth it. My regular service order took 15 days. I sold 1 card for $250 on eBay through PSA, so I didn't even have to package it up and reship it. It was very smooth, and they only took the 13% that eBay takes for that. Let's talk about upcharges, because this one catches a lot of people off guard. Here's how it works. CGC and PSA both have grading tiers. Each of these tiers is associated with a cost. It gives you an expected turnaround time and the max value for each card after it receives its grade that it covers. Higher tiers have a shorter turnaround time and cover higher max values, but they cost more. If you decide to pay for the cheapest grading tier and your card comes back with a value higher than the max for that tier, you will get charged for the tier that covers that value, even though you didn't get the turnaround time for that cost or any of the other benefits of that tier. If you have a card and expect it to come back at a high valuation, you have 2 options. 1, submit at a lower cost, wait a longer turnaround time, and hope they don't notice, because if they do, you'll end up paying for a tier you didn't get any other benefits from. 2, submit at the tier that covers your expected value based on the grade you think your card will get. You will benefit from the decreased turnaround time and you won't have to worry about unforeseen costs. The choice is yours. Tag does have different service tiers for turnaround speed, but here's the big difference. They don't upcharge for anything. If your card comes back worth $2,000, you still pay the same rate agreed to up front. That's a huge win for predictability. I had 5 bulk submissions through Gamestop. Those submissions had between 18 and 46 cards in each submission. The biggest pro is that if I got a card back that I didn't like, I could trade it into Gamestop and use that credit to pay for future submissions. I ended up paying for over 70% of my submissions with credit alone. The con is it's always at bulk speed and bulk prices, so you're going to wait as long as bulk speed is, which at this point in time is 95 days. And if your card comes back valued higher than what bulk speed covers, you have to get an upcharge with those slow speeds. Alright, let's stack up the timelines so you can see how each company performed for me in 2025. The following timelines are from the time the cards were accepted by the grading company to the time the grades were finished and shared with me. It doesn't include the time it took the company to accept the card after they were delivered, or the amount of time it took for the company to ship the cards back to me. I submitted 1 card at the cheapest tier through CGC and it took 18 days to finish grading. I submitted 10 cards at the 10-day service through Tag in February. It took over 40 days for them to finish grading. I submitted 1 card at the walkthrough speed with Tag in April and it took 1 day to finish grading. I submitted 2 cards at the express speed through Tag in October and it took them 15 days to finish grading. I submitted 5 cards directly through PSA at their regular speed in October and it took them 15 days to finish grading. I also did 5 submissions to PSA through Gamestop, and the average time to completion of the grading was 50 days. Gamestop submissions were all via bulk speeds and thus came with some upcharges. Also, sometimes it would be a week or 2 before the cards were accepted at PSA after they arrived, and one time it took PSA 3 weeks to send the cards back to GameStop. However, the 4 other submissions it only took 1 day between grading being finished and the cards being ready to be picked up. So CGC nailed their timeline. Tag started rough, but improved later in the year, and PSA Direct was solid. GameStop bulk is convenient but slow, and it should be slower now as PSA has increased their bulk turnaround times to 95 days. Here's my plan for 2026. For cards that I expect to be valued at over $1,000 after grading, I'm going through PSA Direct. It'll be $75 to $150, but they'll come back quickly and that should cover any of the PSA upcharges. For cards I expect to be valued between $250 and $1,000, I'm going to do Tag Express. This has a 10-day turnaround and the cost is only $60, and usually it's on sale. For cards that I expect to be under $250 after grading, I'll do PSA through GameStop. It'll be slow, but it'll be convenient. And for any miscuts, I will absolutely go through CGC. Grading in 2025 taught me this: know your card's value, pick the right service, and plan for turnaround times and upcharges. For me, PSA and tag are the go-tos, with Gamestop and CGC for specific cases. Drop your grading experiences in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like and subscribing.